What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bonsai Jungle. On today's episode, I'm going to be repotting this Shimpaku semi-cascade juniper and showing you my new artistic vision for the Bonsai Jungle. So this Shimpaku juniper is off of eBay, and it arrived half dead because the person didn't know how to take care of it, so they just wanted to make their money back on eBay. I bought it knowing that because I wanted to take the risk, and over the past half year I've been nursing it back to health. So this is the pot it originally came in, which got shattered, so I glued it back together, and I'm going to take these fertilizer bags off. Again, I put that fertilizer on there pretty heavy just to nurse it back to health and promote all that new growth. Now this plant that I'm removing, it's not a weed, it is, I believe, some kind of sedum. It's a succulent plant that I use on junipers instead of moss. These are weeds, so I'm going to remove them and toss them along with the plant on the left-hand side. And with that sedum, the reason I use it instead of moss is because when you apply moss to a juniper, you have to water it very frequently to keep the moss alive. But junipers, being conifers, they like it on the drier side, so that's why I started using those sedum succulent plants that are cold hardy. Now if we remove this from the pot, you can see there is some root growth. Obviously there are those new white tips to the roots, and the reason it didn't fill out this nursery pot again is because it's only been in there for about 6 months, just nursing it back to health. It didn't really have time to grow the roots, but since it's healthy, I'm gonna go ahead and repot it back into its pot and start trimming that foliage back to get the growth more compact. Here I'm doing the classic routine of cutting some plastic screen to cover the drainage hole. I'm going to take a wire, wrap it around this chopstick, make a loop, and then I'm going to measure that to be the same length or a little bit longer than the hole at the bottom of the pot, tie another loop, and make this staple that's going to go through the drainage screen, and when I put that through the hole, it's going to keep it in place. So I got those 2 loops on that side, and I'm going to take these loose ends of the wire, wrap it around the bottom, make it flat to hold that screen in place, and I'm going to add some of the old bonsai soil. I'm reusing some of that because, again, it's only been in there a couple of months. There's no way that that soil deteriorated, so we're going to do a test fit, and that's pretty close. Now I'm going to clean out these roots, pretty standard technique. There is some kind of, potting soil type of substrate in here. I believe, whatever was left over from the nursery mix. It's very common when the trees are young to grow them in the ground or grow them in the nursery pot with some potting soil so they bulk up pretty quickly. But now that we're getting more refined, I'm going to remove all that old soil. I'm going to tie this tree into the pot using the wires that we pushed through earlier, and just take a pair of wire pliers, tie that down nice and snug, put in some more fresh bonsai soil, and take my chopstick to slowly work and compact all that soil around the root ball to make sure there's no air gaps. Now this is a brass buttons plant. I found that it grows pretty well in my conifers without needing too much water. It has this kind of fern-like foliage that is also purple, and it does produce white flowers, so it's kind of an interesting accent plant. It makes it look kind of more wild, and that's kind of what I'm going for with my current bonsai aesthetic. I want to make these look more like natural landscapes instead of just trees inside of containers. And now for the final touch, I'm going to get these 2 wolves that I got from Hobby Lobby, put them in the corner there, and they kind of fit in that negative space pretty nicely. So now I'm going to just water this tree into place, and I'm watering it pretty well because, remember, bonsai soil has a lot of air gaps in it. The soil I'm using is akadama, lava rock, pumice, and pine bark, so that drains pretty well. I give it a good watering every time I water because it's not going to hold water. It pretty much dries out in about 2 or 3 days depending on the weather. I'm going to put some fertilizer mix on there. It's heavy on the nitrogen, as you saw it was 12 parts nitrogen, just to push the growth a little bit more. Now all around this tree there's a lot of these dead twigs. That's just a result of it being pretty sick when it got to me. Not all of the foliage made it, but thankfully overall the majority of the plant is healthy. So we're just going to go back, trim up the dead stuff, and then I'm going to trim these branches back a little bit, maybe about half of the foliage. I'm going to take it off just because I want to promote more back budding along the old wood, and junipers are pretty good at back budding on old wood, unlike other conifers. So by doing this on the entire tree, I'm going to get some more foliage closer to the trunk. Now the other thing I'm going to do is wire this branch because it was kind of sticking out of the silhouette. So just going to do minor wiring today, this one single branch on the side, kind of bring it more downwards and slanted with the overall silhouette. And then the other thing I'm going to do is take that apex and wire it a little bit higher above the plant. And I'm going to allow that apex to grow out a little bit and have some side branches come down to overall make the shape a little bit more triangular. Well, everybody, that's going to be it for today's episode of the Bonsai Jungle. As always, good luck with your plants, good luck with your bonsai trees, and I'll see you in the next one.